Hello, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful weekend. Where on the Iwineti Africa talk show, where we're going to have conversations around, like, hey, how did Africa really look like before the advent of the pre-colonial masters, right? And in the past weeks, we've actually like had wonderful conversations on the show where we have actually talked about how Ghana came to be. So, for instance, last week we talked about the Ashanti Empire. We traced the history of the Akans and how the Akans moved all the way from Egypt, and settled in West Africa. Then, from there, they formed eventually formed the Ashanti Empire. Now, before even the Ashanti Empire, we had a conversation about the Yoruba people and how they came to be. Of course, we looked at the origin, and in those episodes, it seems like we've actually been in West Africa. And interestingly, today we're going to go on another journey, to have this conversation. But this time around, we are not looking at West Africa as it were. We are going to East Africa. So, like I always say, I don't want to be the only one in the studio. I don't want to be the only one talking. This is a community that we are trying to build, and so we cannot have a community that is built around one person. So please join me online wherever you are, just get online, and put a comment in the comment section. Let me know that you're present, you are there, and you're participating, right? Let's enjoy this conversation together, right? And let's see how this conversation goes today. I'm sure it's going to be interesting like every other time. And in the next 30 minutes, let's see what we can actually uncover on the Iwineti Africa talk show, more specifically looking at what Eastern Africa, and specifically looking at the Swahili Coast. All right, so I'll be right back, but to let me know that you are actually online, just put, just say hi in the comment section, share, like, and say hi in the comment section. I'll be right back after the short clip. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back. All right, so today the structure of the conversation is going to be a bit different, right? So what I've decided to do today is to introduce a lot of pictures, right, to make it very interactive, to make it very kind of really, really interesting, and to carry everybody along. Just like the saying goes, right? Pictures tell the story better than just words, and so that's what we're trying to do. So, also put in the comment section, right, what you think, about the structure that I'm introducing today, where I have a slide, and we're going to interact around the slides together, so I'm going to read. Oh yeah, so Mr. Kenneth is online. He just put in the comment section. Super, Mr. Kenneth, thank you so much for joining. It's always interesting to have you on the show. Thank you very much for being supportive all the time. So please, Mr. Kenneth has actually taken the lead. He's shown leadership. So if you're out there, please, 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 please join. Like I always say, we're building a community, right? We are building a community. And why is it really important for us to build this community? It's really important, right? Because on this talk show, with the hope of building a large community, what we intend to achieve is Africans who are very confident in their heritage, like nobody can tell our history, nobody can tell our story better than ourselves, right? So when we come together, when we share knowledge, when we share information, a bit here, a bit there, right? The cloud will be full with water, and we can actually have more confidence, in who we are and what we are and where we are from, in our heritage. Because without confidence, we may have a lot on the inside, but we may not even have the confidence to put it on a global stage. So please, please, please share, subscribe, and tell someone, and also participate. Put your comments, just drop your comments out there, and then let's make this work. Like I was saying, right? Today we are taking a bit of like the approach is a bit different, right? So I have a slide, and Please, if you can see my slide, I would like you to comment, just to be sure that I'm not thinking I'm sharing a slide when you guys can see the slide. So please, in the comment section, if you can see the slide, please put in the comment section that you can see the slide, and I really, really appreciate that. All right. I mean, pending when I see any comment, I'm going to assume that we can see the slide, unless someone says otherwise. All right. So, like I did mention today, we are talking about the Okay, so Elizabeth Boatin says, yes, I can see the slide. Thank you very much for the feedback. I really appreciate that. I really get encouraged, and it's really motivating when comments start coming in, and all that, because it makes in this conversation as interactive as it can possibly be. All right, so let's delve right into it. All right, so introduction to the Swahili people, who are the Swahili people, basically, imagine a place, at this point, I'm almost, okay, I was thinking, you know, maybe I'll just kind of change the tone of my voice and say, once upon a time, in a faraway land, somewhere in Africa, along the coast, the eastern coast, where there was the Indian Ocean, but anyway, that's just by the way. All right, so back to serious business. All right, so we are having an introduction to the Swahili people, and we are going to talk about how did the Swahili people actually come to be, right? Now, when we talk about the Swahili people, we're actually talking about the Bantu people, the Bantu ethnic group, from the eastern coast, but before this Bantu people came to the eastern coast, they were somewhere not even close to the east. But for some reason they started migrating, moving gradually towards the east, and of course, if when you look at the slide, you can see, I don't know whether it's big. Let me try to see whether I can make it as big as possible. But looking at the slide, yeah, you can see the part of the African map, right? And you can also see the vast body of water, the Indian Ocean, as it's called, and so this Bantu people, moved towards the coast, right? And you can see a couple of, countries. Of course, they didn't exist as countries before, but you can see a couple of nation states, very close to to the to the to that part of Africa, right? That's to Somalia, and Mozambique. Those were nation states that existed very close to the ocean, to the Indian Ocean. And the interesting thing is that from this same picture, right, you can see that we have the sheep, all the way, from different parts of the world, coming to the coast and living the coast. Now, if you find yourself in such a beautiful environment like this, right, what are some of the things that are bound to happen? People coming in, people, going out, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of any community, because you are able to, people are able to come in, people are able to go out. There's we have exchange of ideas, exchange of goods and services, so those were some of the things that actually started happening because of the Indian Ocean, which started the whole trade activities that existed then. All right, so back to the comment section. Elizabeth Watson says, okay, so hello everyone. Jambo, oh yeah, interesting. Jambo Mambo, Swahili people, Elizabeth Watson from Lagos. Nigeria, great to be here. It's really great to have you here, Elizabeth. So it's really interesting, right? So Elizabeth is very proactive. She's gone ahead, right? And she decided to greet us in Swahili. Elizabeth, do you want to tell the wonderful audience what Jambo means? I know what it means, right? But it would be great if you could tell us what that means. So pending when we hear what Jambo means, or should I just go ahead to say it? Okay, so Jambo actually is a greeting. It means good evening. Jambo in Swahili means good evening, right? Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for joining and for engaging and making this as interactive as possible. All right, so basically introducing Swahili people. They were like Bantu ethnic group from the eastern coast, of Africa, with a rich cultural blend, influenced by the Arab, the Persians, Indians, and of course some African elements, right? From this introduction, we can actually say that because of the Indian Ocean, and then the fact that like people were coming from different parts of the world, especially like the Arabs, and people from Persia and people from India and people from China, the Swahili, actually became like moved from a homogeneous community to a heterogeneous community. So the culture gradually moved from being homogeneous to being heterogeneous. So that cultural mix, where there's exchange of ideas, exchange of thoughts, exchange of, identity. Yeah. So Elizabeth says, um, it means hello. It means hello. Thank you, Elizabeth, for taking us on this wonderful journey in teaching us some things in at least greetings, right? In Swahili. Like they say, right? Like one of the basic ways to start learning any language is to start with the greetings, right? And that's what Elizabeth has decided to do today. Interesting. Thank you. So please, if you're out there, join the community, interact, say hello, say good morning, say good evening, say something, something that in Swahili. All right. So we go on this journey, so basically, what we're just saying is that Swahili people moved towards the coast, and when they moved towards the coast, they started building a community, right? But then from a homogeneous, culture, gradually when the Arabs started coming, through the Indian Ocean, the Indians started coming, the other African, people started coming, the Persians started coming. This different people came with their cultures, and there was a kind of cultural interaction, right? And so gradually, the Swahili people moved from a homogeneous culture to a rather like heterogeneous culture. All right, so let's take another step, right? And look at the Swahili Coast, right? So if you can still see my slide, I try to like portray there's this picture where you have like the boats, the boats on the sea, so you can just imagine, people coming and people going, a lot of business activities going on, and it will make it really interesting to know that, as far back, as the 8th century, and all that, like the inhabitants actually studied the wind, the monsoon wind. So they will gauge the monsoon wind, to know when. So the monsoon wind blows from the coast, and in some specific months it also blows from the ocean to the coast. So people, migrated, following the monsoon wind, to kind of make the journey easier and faster, right? So the Swahili coast, essentially stretches from the southern Somalia to northern Mozambique. The Swahili coast, has been a hub of commerce, and interaction for over a millennium, right? So from what we see on the slide, you see people coming, and they weren't just coming, right? Just on boats. They were coming with goods. They were coming, in exchange. And so they'll bring. So for instance, the Chinese will bring their pottery, their like well designed stuff, and they'll bring it to the coast, and that exchange will take place, exchange between the Swahili people and the Persians, the Swahili people and the Indians, the Swahili people. The Persians really had a lot of spices, so like they'll bring spice to the coast, all the different people represented at the coast will exchange, one item for the other. And that's what trade is all about, goods and services, just like we even have in modern day. You need to have a product in exchange for something. If you are living in a society, where you have nothing to exchange for anything, then you're just going to gradually get on a journey towards poverty and lack, right? At every point in time, you must have something in exchange for something, right? And that's exactly what was happening, in the Swahili coast. And what was aiding that was the fact was the ocean, the fact that people could get on the ocean, mobility, easy mobility. People could get on the ocean, move from different parts of the world, and come, to the coast, the Swahili coast, and engage in different forms of trade at different levels. All right, so that is the Swahili coast, um, to an extent, right? Okay, so let's talk about the Swahili culture, right? Culture is really, really important. Like in modern times, we have business culture, we have, and we cannot really throw away our culture, because culture carries our very essence. The culture of a people, it's a reflection of their very essence, and we cannot talk about any group of people without talking about culture. And in this context, right, if we're going to, is either whether we're talking about the homogeneous culture or the heterogeneous culture, it is still a culture, right? So the Swahili culture, reflects a blend of Bantu tradition, and it makes sense, right? It makes a whole lot of sense to have the Bantu traditions, because those were the original people that migrated towards the coast. Because, like, just like I did mention earlier, there was the homogeneous culture before the advent of the different, cultures from different parts of the world. So traditionally there was the Bantu culture. Then of course the Arabs started coming, for trade purposes, and so we started having the Bantu culture mixed with Arab culture. Then of course, like I did mention, we had the Persians, and the culture moved from just being a Bantu culture to being a mixture of Bantu culture and Arab culture, to being a Bantu culture with Arab elements and also with Persian elements. And when we talk about culture, we're not just talking about language. Language is a part of culture. We're also talking about food. We're talking about, perception, like, because culture shapes your worldview, your perception, So the Persians also brought their elements. We had the Indian elements, we also had of course, how did all this different elements, how did it even affect the Bantu people? It went as far as even affecting the language, so like the Swahili language, also even got affected, right? So because the Swahili language, as it existed then, started having a mixture of, words from Arab, and all the other cultural elements that existed then started infusing part of your language into the Bantu language, which ultimately, like, made even the Swahili language to evolve, to become even like um, more robust, as it were. Just, when I say that, what actually comes to mind is even the English language, as it were, where the English language, took different words from Latin and from different civilizations to make it more robust, right? And the beautiful thing is that the more a language is able to absorb other languages, the more robust it becomes, and the better it is in communicating and kind of for self-expression. And I mean, if a language is not, but is not robust enough for communication, then how can even trade be more effective? Just put my thoughts out there. All right. So Elizabeth says that. Let's see what Elizabeth says. Oh, Elizabeth says this is interesting. Well done, Elvis. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I love the energy. I love the energy. Thank you so much for engaging. I really appreciate finding time to be here and also engaging in the comment section. Thank you very much. All right. So from the picture that I have here, you can see the beautiful and the very colorful, dressing of the Swahili people. Very beautiful. Um, you could, if I mean, if you're out there, and I know you're out there, you could actually put in the comment section, what is the dominant color, in your tradition? What is the dominant color in your tradition, or in your country, or where you come from? you know um So for instance, like when we were looking at the Ashanti Empire, we looked at the Kente, and we have different types of Kente and all that. But then across board, we usually have the very gold color. Maybe it's a reflection of the fact that the Ghanaian people or the Ashanti people had a lot of gold. But that's not the conversation we are having. So back here to the Swahili culture. So you can see the culture, you can see the cultural dress, the beads, the very beautiful beads that they have, for beautification. You can see the headgear, you can see the woven dress that they have. And this, these are very, very expensive, attires, right? Because like you have to weave, a lot of skill goes into the weaving. Mr. Kenneth is, yeah, just put a comment there. Mr. Kenneth says, so these is Bantu dressing, correct? Yes. So this is so this is Bantu dressing. More kind of reflecting more in the of course right now we may not the Swahili people their dressing will be different, but typically the Bantu dressing, this is a reflection of the Bantu dressing, But like I did mention earlier, if you take a journey to East Africa, whether Kenya or Mozambique, the kind of dress that you find there will be different from the Bantu people because of the cultural mix, right? And one of the cultures that's kind of really became very predominant is like the Arab culture, So we have a lot of Muslims, because the Arab culture was very dominant. But yes, Mr. Kenneth, so this is a reflection of the Bantu people's culture and their dressing, as it were. Thank you very much. Okay, so Mr. Kenneth says, what's the history around it? Um, So around this, what's the history around this? So are you referring um, to the dressing? I mean, my sense is that you're referring to the history, around the Bantu um, dressing. So if okay, yeah. So the history around the attire. All right. So a lot of things really go into what people what finally becomes the attire of any group of people. Like I did mention, this attire is woven, right? And it's also a reflection of the African pride. Just like in other African countries, well, beads is for royalty. It gives a sense of pride. The bright colors, is a reflection of the fact that they are happy people, and highly hospitable people, and so these things actually find reflection in their choice of color, and in the attire, essentially, so it's the same way that, like, when you talk about some communities in Africa, when they dress in white, it's a reflection of happiness. When they dress in black, it's a reflection of the atmosphere if they are mourning someone. So Africans are very particular in communicating even through their attire. So when you look at this attire where we have the beads for beautification, around the head, and on the arms, it's a sign. It speaks of their pride as a community. It speaks of their 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 sense of royalty, and and strength, as a group of people. Like I did mention before, they came to the east. They moved from hinterland, and moved into the east, right? And moved into the coast, as it were. So dressing for the environment, is also really, really key. You know, factor that actually goes into the attire, because eventually you don't also dressing beyond beautification, beyond the fact that it's also a reflection of their royalty, also kind of protects them against the different weather conditions, as it were. Yeah. Okay, so please, I'm still looking. I still need more comments. Put your comments out there if you have maybe you know someone that lives in the eastern part of Africa, and or you've traveled to the east, and you had an experience and you want to also share. You can put it out there in the comment section. Okay, so I just thought, right? I just thought that maybe we should just learn a bit of Swahili, right? Because there are a lot of countries in modern day Africa who actually speak Swahili. So I just thought that okay, we should take a look at some of the some one or two words in Swahili, and Elizabeth beat us to it when she greeted and said hello, in Swahili by saying jambo, right? Now, at this point, if you've ever watched this cartoon Lion King, you might have heard, maybe not even just necessarily like Lion King, but like Akuna Matata, you know. Who knows the meaning of Akuna Matata? Please, if you know the meaning of Akuna Matata, put it in the comment section. Put it in the comment section. The song goes Akuna Matata. I think they even said the meaning of the Akuna Matata. It means no worries, right? No worries. Now, Akuna Matata is actually Swahili. All right, so let's take a look at some of the words in. Oh yeah, so yeah. Oh wow, nice, nice, nice. I love this community already. So I have there is a saying, no worries. Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Kenneth also says don't worry. So no worries, don't worry. Akuna Matata. All right. You're spot on. You're spot on. You're absolutely right. And it's really powerful. Like I mean, like there's so much beauty in language, and there's so much beauty in learning some things about you know if it were possible, I would even say that like from time to time, let's try to learn one or two things from as we go on this journey, visiting one African state to the other. It'll be nice to for every country that we have the privilege to talk about. It would be nice for us to learn, even if just good morning in that language, right? As we build this community, because we cannot really build a very good community, a very effective community, if we are not building such community even around language. Okay, okay, okay. So back to the slide. So we have Mbrembo, which means beautiful, beautiful. We have Okay, so Daisy says, let me read Daisy's comment. Says, I think Nyamochoma means meat. Oh, okay. Okay, so I love this I love this community already, right? So this is the kind of interaction that I'm talking about, and Daisy is really bringing the energy and bringing the sense of community and the interaction, and I'm really loving this. Thank you so much for engaging. So Daisy Arno Mens says, I think Nyamachoma means meat. Oh, okay. Um, thank you very much, Daisy, for that. Yeah, back to the slide. I was saying that Mrembo means beautiful. So please, if you're out there and you're from Kenya or you're from East Africa, and you speak Swahili, please pardon me if the pronunciation is not does not have the accent, of the right accent, and please put in the comment. You could just put in the comment, or you could just reach out, and let me know what the right pronunciation is, right? Yeah, and I'll be very, very okay. So Elizabeth says, saying, Daisy, where did you learn Swahili? Hello. Okay, so Daisy, you may really want to answer Elizabeth Boateng. She's really keen to know. She's really interested in knowing where you learned Swahili from. I mean, you never can tell, right? Like maybe from there you could start a little community where you start exchanging different words in different languages, as it were. As we build this community, we get to learn different words and different sentences, in different languages across Africa. So Daisy says, and responded to Elizabeth, says that, "Hello, Elizabeth. My dad stayed in Tanzania for a bit. I got the opportunity to learn a few." Oh, that's really amazing. That's really amazing. So you see, right? Like we are really a community here, right? I mean, who would have thought? I never would have imagined, you know. But I'm just curious to know though, Daisy. I don't know, is Daisy like, am I really getting the pronunciation right? And Daisy, is it like is that an English name? Is it a Ghanaian name, or is it a name from Tanzania? You may want to you may want to answer. I'm just curious to know. So please, if you don't mind, you could just put in the comment section what the meaning of daisy is. you know all right. So Mrembo means beautiful. Gali means expensive. Loda, means delicious. So you can imagine somebody from Bantu, coming in contact with somebody from India and tasting their food and saying, "Oh, delicious, Loda." So we have tatizo, which means problem. We have nyumbani, meaning home. We have, imboga, meaning vegetables. We have kahawa, means coffee. Maji means water. We have chai. Chai, means tea. Oh, oh, nice, nice. So daisy flower, an English name. Oh, nice, nice. So we're really learning. We're really learning. So after this this conversation, I'm going to try to know a bit more about the daisy flower. Beautiful, beautiful. So Elizabeth says, wow, and she's clapping. I think Daisy is an English name. Oh, so she says that, oh, I think Daisy is an English name, and she says, wow, with her hands together. All right, so that's a bit on the Swahili language. So if you're out there, and there are more words that you like to share, Swahili words that you like to share, in this community, please feel free, drop it in the comment section. Let's learn, and build our vocabulary, as it were, in the Swahili language. All right, all right, all right. So so we go to the trade networks, right? Networking, we cannot like underestimate the power of building trade networks. We cannot underestimate the power of building networks. We cannot, as business people and as people of community, right? Because I mean that's even the essence of building a community, to network. Whether we are networking our experiences, networking our businesses, networking um, 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 creating the right platform for us to exchange our experiences. Networking is really, really important, right? And in more specific terms, we're talking about the Swahili Coast, and how that it kind of was a very great place, to it created like a network, right? It was a place where like there were like different people coming from different places, and so the richness of the trade that took place, at the coast, was because there was room for different channels, for people to come from different parts of the world to engage and trade, right? So between the 8th and 15th centuries, the Swahili coast, was key part of the Indian Ocean trade, exporting gold, ivory, and slaves, in exchange for goods like silk, spices, and porcelain, from China, India, and from the Middle East, right? So people were not just interested in moving from one part of the world to another part of the world. As they moved, they moved with their culture, they moved with goods and services, they moved with and some of the things that were really, really typical, with the movement, in those days, was gold. So they were moving with gold, and they were exchanging gold, they were selling gold, they were selling ivory, in and it's really interesting to know that, like, Africa is really blessed. we are really blessed, blessed with lots of gold, and I think that we will do ourselves a lot of good if we get to the point where we begin to like look more inwards and see how we can put ourselves on a global scale, but before we can do that, we have to be come to a place of absolute confidence, put ourselves on the global scale, and see how we can even put our products out there, right? But basically, some of the things that the people of Swahili, were engaging in trade, with where like gold and ivory, and some of the things that were being exchanged, gold was being exchanged with, where spices, like clothes, like tea, like coffee, and those were some of the things that um, the traders were like exchanging goods and services, as it were. So if you're out there, you could, so from this picture, actually, like you can see a picture, it's a picture, where we have the ivory. It's a picture of ivory and gold, so you can see how beautiful that is, and how expensive, that equally will be, as it were. So, what are I don't know what your location is, but like, what are some of the predominant goods and services that are used in your locality? Whether you are joining this community from Nigeria or from Ghana, wherever you are, or from Kenya, what are some of the basic things, predominant things, that are used in trade in your community, as it were? That it would be great if you could just share in the comment section. All right, all right, all right. So, key Swahili trading cities. So I've actually like talked about this, but it's best repetition, for us to better really understand. Um, So if so, looking at the map, right, so cities like the Kilwa, Mombasa, and Zanzibar, became rich, and very influential, through the trade activities, and that is the essence of trade. As an individual, as a community, as a country, there has to be trade. There has to be something that you have in abundance that you are ready to exchange for what you do not have. That's what trade is all about, right? We are all blessed with different things, and we have some things more than other people, and so for us to be able to refine what we have and make it marketable, bring it to the point where we can exchange what we have for what we don't have, is the whole essence of trade. And that principle didn't start today. It's always been there, just the same way it existed among the Bantu people, who, when the different elements started coming, the culture mix and all that, they had something, they had gold, they had ivory, they had different things that they were confident to exchange, with, and so even in our present day society, there has to be something that we are ready to exchange with. As an entrepreneur, there has to be something that you are ready to exchange with, right? Kilwa, Mombasa, Zanzibar, were like city states that actually became very influential, and all, through trade, the city served as key links between Africa, and the wider Indian Ocean world. So if you take a close look at the map, so we have like in modern day, right, Africa, we have like Kenya, Tanzania, we have Malawi and Mozambique, and if you want to like trace them back to the ancient times, we have the Lamu, archipelago, we have the Malindi, Mombasa, we have the Unjuja, Uku, we had the Kiwa, Kisiwani, Songo, Inara, we had the Comoros Islands, so these were the communities, right, that existed, in the coast, and of course, when they close to the ocean, to the Indian Ocean, so people were could easily come, with the aid of the monsoon winds, so they could a journey that could take maybe like, weeks could take lesser, because of they were aided by the wind, by the monsoon wind, you know. So So data says there's a whole market in Zanzibar which Indians in Zanzibar with Indians selling spices. Oh wow, interesting. Thank you so much, Daisy, for sharing it. Really interesting. I mean, like, I don't know, right? Like, who knows? Maybe there could be some spices that I've been like making use of in West Africa that probably, traveled all the way from other parts, as a result of the trade that took place. But it's really interesting to know, Daisy, that there is a whole market, for spices, and that's the beautiful thing, right? We live in like blend heterogeneous cultures, right? I dare say that we don't really have any culture in modern civilization that is absolutely homogeneous, right? And so there is beauty in having heterogeneous culture. How do we take advantage of the fact that we have a culture that is a blend of different elements as a result of the interactions, that our cultures have had with different people from different parts of the world, and how do we take advantage, of such a mix? Thank you so much, Daisy, for sharing. This is absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate that. Yeah. So this communities around the coast, actually became very influential and became very rich because of their proximity to the ocean, and for the fact that traders could actually get on boats, to come to the coast to engage in trade. So it's all about exchange, right? It's all about exchange. Know your at what is actually like, know your selling point, right? And take advantage of it, so that you can actually like exchange the right value. Know your selling point as an individual, as a community, as a nation. We should know our selling point, our competitive advantage, and be confident in it, and see how we can put it on a global scale, in exchange for what we do not have, right? And so the last part of my slide, it talks about the decline of the Swahili dominance. So there was time where Swahili was actually dominating, right? And rightly so, because where trade is taking place is where the money is, and all the nations or city states that existed around the coast became very influential. But then the advent of the Portuguese, like actually led to the decline, right? So in the 16th century, the Portuguese, disrupted the Swahili trading network. The decline of Swahili dominance, marked the end of the golden age in the Indian Ocean world, right? So it's all about like different people coming in, and before the Portuguese, it was all about trade, but then when the Portuguese came, they wanted to have dominance, right? And so that is what actually like disrupted the harmony of trade, as it were. So um and in this entire journey, right? What is the legacy of the Swahili civilization, right? Um, so that's where, okay, I think I'll have to go back. So part of that legacy is the fact that that there's actually an influence in our architecture, right? In the architecture of the people in the East, right? So because they're coastal people who have always lived, on the coast, even the way they build, like the way they integrate, nature into their architecture, you know, um, it's really a reflection of the different kind of architectural design that existed then. I also did mention from the beginning of this conversation that we had a lot of like a large influx of Arabs, into coming to the coast, and in those days, right, like the Arabs also had this. So the architectural designs were more like palaces, right? So even in the modern day Eastern Africa, most of the architectural designs are like they are structured like palaces, and as you can see in the slide, this beautiful picture that I have. where did that picture go? Okay, this beautiful slide I have here, you can see that the the building actually looks like a palace, like a palace, and there's that blend, of nature, and the coconut trees, because of course, if you're very familiar with any coastal the coastal line, there's always a lot of coconut, right? As a matter of fact, one of the ways that you can easily identify whether there is maybe an ocean somewhere or close to a particular place is that you can see that line of coconut trees, and all that. So you can see even the architectural design. There's a blend of coconut and greens, apart from the palace, kind of structure that they have in the architecture, as it were. All right, all right, all right. So back to what I was saying, talking about the legacy of Swahili civilization. Today, Swahili culture and language continue to play a vital role in East African identity and politics. Swahili architecture, language, and traditions remain central to the region's cultural heritage. So at the moment, we have a heterogeneous society, community where we have the religion is even predominantly Muslim religion, Islamic religion. The architecture, reflects the architecture, of the different global elements that came to interact with the Bantu cultural elements. So these are some of the wonderful things, we have. I think that it makes the culture richer. It makes the culture it puts the culture in a better place to for easy interaction, and that is about that with our interaction and our journey towards the east. So please, if you're still out there, I would like to know what your comments are in this journey, about the Swahili people, and how did you find it? How was the interaction? How was the journey? Can you still remember some of the words that we learned, in Swahili? Jambo, you know, and some other words. All right. So, like I've always said, right? We are building a community in the Iwineti Africa Talk Show. We're building a community that will place African African nations, right? On a pedestal, right? We will come to be to a place where we are very confident in who we are, and we are very confident in what we have. We are very confident in what we bring to the table, and what we can bring to the global community, as it were. And it's really, really important that we are able to bring something to the global community, because it's all about trade, right? And for you to have relevance, you must have something that you're bringing to the global community in exchange for what other elements from the global community are also bringing to the table. So the Strategy Club, we is a tribe of emerging entrepreneurs, operating in Africa with a big vision, you know, but scanty resources. Great, but no godfathers, ready to bootstrap their ventures and escalate impact or income. So we have in the Strategy Club, we have solopreneurs, we have digipreneurs, we have entrepreneurs, and we have and it's a wonderful community, right? And as we build this community, as we talk about building community, definitely the Strategy Club is the place to be. It's a place to be, because it is it is a community, right? And you like to be a part of community. You like to be a part of like-minded people who have what it takes to, and whatever it takes to be on a global stage. And we're starting in our little way, and building confidence, to put ourselves out there, right? We are glad to be here. So the Strategy Club says that we're glad to be here. All right. Thank you so much, Strategy Club, for putting that out there in the comment section. So I'm still waiting. If you have Yeah, let me get your feedback, right? So, how was this interaction, around the Swahili, culture, and of course the Swahili Coast, and the trade activities that actually took place, among the Bantu people, and how that their culture has actually metamorphosed, and and how that also has also affected their language. What are your comments? Please put your comments out there. What are your thoughts? All right, all right, all right. So I think there are no more comments. This is where we're going to draw the curtains. You have been a very wonderful audience. You've been very, very interactive, and this conversation has been super, super amazing. Thanks for the knowledge shared. And I like to say again, and I can't say it enough, we're building a community here, right? So please, like, share, and subscribe, tell other people about this community that we are building, and let them subscribe and be a part of it. Let's contribute and make this community what it should be, right? So that whatever messages we are putting out there can actually go a long way in affecting more people. All right. So I have, okay, so I think I've already read that comment. All right, all right. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to another interactive session next week. On this wonderful show, the Iwineti Africa Talk Show. And once again, I'm your host, Elvis Boateng. All right, see you next week.